Good morning, folks, and welcome to the final installment of FCF. It's number 10. And for those who may not have watched before, this is a practical walkthrough for Inferno, focusing on really just, well, everything practical. Making life easy, showing you how the waves really look, and not just in a guide format, and giving you real useful tips to actually solve waves, rather than, again, pillar stacks and theory, I guess. So if you've been watching before, thank you for watching again. I know there's tons of people who surprisingly get a cape and still watch, so I'm glad that's useful. And today's gear is going to be the standard stuff, nothing crazy here. And I'll talk about it for just a minute before we jump in. So we're running Bofa, full crystal, crystal shield, Virtus top, which is kind of the middle ground between Ancestral and Ahrims, and it's a bit cheaper. So if you can get, if you can't afford Ancestral, Virtus is fantastic, or Ancestral is fine if you have it and don't want to buy Virtus for whatever reason. If otherwise, Ahrims is fine. And by the way, all the information for this is in the description, so if you're not sure about something, then go have a look there, because I've probably listed it and given some more detailed ideas. The big selling point behind this setup is the fact that we have 24 prayer bonus right now, and this is owed greatly to the Devout Boots and also the Ring of the Gods. Ring of the Gods gives you Holy Wrench effect, as well as like 8 prayer bonus, so it's kind of insane. And due to the way this works, we're going to be able to camp prayers throughout the run, overhead prayers that is, and not really flick. And to clarify, when I say flick, I mean we're not going to be conserving prayer. We will be one-tick alternating as our primary sort of method to get through waves, and that's something you'll have to learn to do Inferno. So don't shy away from learning that, and I'm going to put some emphasis on it, but you don't have to prayer flick. You don't have to, like, take your prayer off and put it back on. You don't have to, lossless prayer flick or anything like that to get through this with this setup. You do want to have 92 prayer minimum if you want to be doing that, 80 bare minimum, but if you have 80, you might have to flick a bit. So dependent on your prayer level, higher is better, 92 is what I recommend, and again, this stuff is in the description. We have Zaryte Rams here, these are good. You can take Barrows gloves if you don't have them, no big deal, and even like, Dehyde boots if you don't have Devout boots, completely fine. The ward is actually, the upgraded, like imbued, not imbued, but upgraded ward is very good instead of Crystal Shield if you don't happen to have one, and they're about the same. But just, Crystal Shield is just the best option outside of Ellie, defensive-wise. And we're really only using it for a short amount of time. So those two things are interchangeable. That's about it. Kodai can be Blood Scepter, Ice Scepter. It makes no real difference. You can even just use a regular ancient staff. You're not going to see the difference. And lastly, which I don't usually mention, is you can bring a range cape if you are lacking some of this stuff that adds up your prayer bonus, or you want even more prayer bonus, but you will sacrifice a bit of DPS for it. So don't worry too much overall. The gear really isn't the biggest make or break thing. Getting stuck in and trying the waves and getting some experience will let you know kind of where you stand and how much you have to improve and how much more resources you need or what you need to change in your gear. So we're starting with 6 brews here, and I recommend 5 to 8 brews dependent. Otherwise, the setup is the same. And let's jump in. That's all the preamble done. This series is, once again, a big focus on practical solutions to waves. And I'm going to be going through a lot of the early stuff, showcasing how we deal with blobs in particular in a very, very simple manner. You don't need to know any tick timing for any of this shit. You just have to get stuck in and practice a bit. And that's the key to all of this. There's really only one thing that matters, and that's one tick alternation, and you can get stuck in on wave 4, go to a blob wave, and just practice. And that's what I recommend to pretty much anyone, is like, if you're struggling with something in this game, there's really not like a natural talent you have for it. You just have to put some time in and practice. And you'll be a better player for it, you'll enjoy it more, and you'll be able to breeze through the later waves. So let's start by dropping just a couple of pots and coming back on the pillar here. I'm going to start with range pray and send 1 barrage, preferably on the middle one if you can get it, and then switch to my tank gear and just attack something. These early waves are fairly simple. We're going to go through them in a nice methodical manner and just clear them out. And don't worry about conserving your prayer and whatnot. It's nice and, just... Also, we're going to put the shield to the side and just sort of leave it there for now. Proper gear on, click the NPC and kill it. So our starting tile is going to be any of these 6 here. And depending on how scared I am, I might start like back here so I can dodge around the pillar immediately, or I might start a bit further up if I want to get a bit of a better purchase in the center. Some nice barrages to start us off, and we're into the blob waves. So for blob waves, what we're going to do, we're going to start with 1 barrage, and notice that when we're on these 6 tiles, a lot of the time things are just safe spotted, which is great. These guys aren't quite dead, so we can throw another barrage. Notice I don't even have any gear on at all, and I still land the hit. and that 0 is still a hit landed. This is actually probably a miss, but the point is your gear doesn't really matter for barraging. Oftentimes I'll do a 2-way and then barrage, which is great, but the top doesn't matter much at all. These two probably most important, and Sea Shield actually just stays off until 50, but you can put it on if you want. I just don't like the switch. Okay, blobs. These guys are your enemies, and this is how you flick blobs. So whatever prayer you have on, when they read your prayer immediately, they'll flick and hit you with the opposite prayer, and when it hits me, I wait a second and then switch. Hits me, wait a second, switch. Hits me, wait a second, switch. That is how we flick blobs at close range. And if I'm coming further back, let's say like back over here, what I will do is I will flick immediately as soon as it hits me. And that's it. There's no tick timing. I can, you know, it hits me, I flick my prayer. It hits me, I flick my prayer. There's no timing required for this. Anyone can do this. You just have to look at it. And that's the easy premise behind dealing with blobs. So when you're like far away, and far away constitutes anywhere like over here somewhere, this is far away, just flick immediately. If you're like middle range, you can flick immediately, which is like here. This is okay as well. You can flick immediately, but you can also wait about a tick. You can see you can wait one extra tick. And when you're really close, you have to wait. You do have to wait, and then go. Just about a second. You don't have to think in ticks. Just think in seconds. So you know, here, wait a second and flick. Here, flick immediately, and that's it. Right. We really want this blob to. I'm going to drag this blob out to demonstrate some stuff. Notice that I'm going to be from now on just flicking based on this, so it hits me and I just flick immediately. It's far away, it hits me, I flick immediately. This doesn't change at all. What I'm doing right now is dragging the blob into a more useful position to demonstrate some stuff. Okay, let's bring him back around. There are different positions a blob can be in on North Pillar, and we're going to be learning to use North Pillar throughout this run. And so what we want to do is that this is like a very standard position the blob falls into. And what we're going to do is we're going to kill him standing here or further back. Here or further back. This is party plugin that I'm using to ping tiles. And if I can't stand here and I can't stand here. But if I attack him like this and I'm chilling, I'm on this tile and that's okay. Anywhere further back is fine. And we just stand still and pray range. And they fall into this nice little group. And what we can do is we can go to our barrage here and send a nice barrage if we're full HP, or a blood barrage if we're not full HP. And what we can do from here is we can run in a straight line with the same line of sight all the way back. And from here, I can send, if I'm low HP, I can send 2 blood barrages instantaneously, manually casting. And that gives me the second one, which is going to land as well. I'm going to do it with Ice Barrage, but you can use any spell. So if I cast immediately, notice that even though I've killed 2 of them, I'm still going to be like hitting these 2. And when you do it with Blood Barrage, you'll get the heal. We're going to finish with Blowpipe. And I know it's a long-winded thing for one blob, but I'm going to speed through the next few blobs, just to show you guys what it looks like. Here, I can just duck around the pillar immediately from this tile, which is great, and this lets the blob drag in. I'm not worried about that nibbler at all, and I'm gonna let the blob fall into the pillar. Now because there's only one NPC in the room, I can go and kill these guys. I know how to flick blobs now. You just wait for it to attack me, wait a second, and flick. So blobs aren't a problem. And what we're going to do is come back to our standardized position, and we're going to do this for every blob we encounter. I just woke up, if you can't tell. And so we're killing him from the same position. And now, if I take some HP damage, I go back, and I double blood barrage. Here, I can just ice barrage, and all is well. If it's not a big barrage, or there's 2 left, I can go again. And then, if I hit, maybe switch into my gear, make sure to pray against the correct one, and kill. So, starting on a nice, fresh tile. 1 barrage, and I gotta start flicking this guy. Okay, well, I mean, I'm being gatekept for stuff. Let's just kill the bat. I'm gonna flick the blob, so when it hits me, I switch my prayer. Hits me, I switch my prayer. Great. I took some damage from the bat, but we're gonna heal up, so there's no problem. We're gonna blowpipe these guys down. And here it's a bit funny because really I don't want this blob to be here. I want him to drag to the pillar. But if I move down, the bat's gonna come out. So what you can do is you can stand on this tile here, just like on the edge of the blob. And I can blood barrage for some HP. This just means the bat won't come around. It doesn't really matter. It's only a bat, but he will come around. And we're not going to be afraid of bats. Just click him. Notice that our HP from that wave exclusively came from the blob, and that's all you really need. Alright, we're going to start flicking this guy. We can send another barrage, maybe. Hits me, wait a second, and flick. Okay. I want this guy to drag in. So what we're going to do is come around the pillar, and now we're going to start flicking this guy. For this position, this is like position 2, you can call it. And we're going to start here and move in. We want to move in as he dies, like this, and then switch our gear, pray mage preferably, and barrage the middle one. Cool. This guy, we've had this position before. We're not going to kill him from this side. If you did, you'd have to move up into this position here. But we're going to go to our standardized position and kill him here. Once you learn to do stuff like this, it becomes very second nature. You don't have much to really worry about in terms of thinking about what it's going to do and where it's going to go. Also, my barrages today are insane. And you just really make it part of your pattern, part of your behavior, part of your habit. And that takes a lot of the stress of Inferno off and lets you focus on maybe solving better, or staying alive, or dealing with other NPCs. So that's why learning to deal with these guys is really important. And just taking a bit of time to practice is really important. If you're not comfortable with blobs, just go to wave 4 and maybe take like 20 minutes playing with a blob. Right, melees. We kill them. These guys don't have much HP, and if you put on Rigor especially, you can even flick Rigor like this if you want to. This is, you know... Yes, this is prayer conservation, but it's also incredibly easy, and you're not taking damage because you're camping melee brain. So you can just flick Rigor and kill them pretty quickly. We have blowpipe specs at our disposal if we want to use them. I'm going to click the ground a lot after I barrage to stop myself from being dragged out south. And here I'm just going to kill the bat. It is just a bat. Bat dies, click the melee. You don't gotta do this fancy, you really don't have to like safe spot him, just click him. And a lot of the Inferno is about understanding what you can DPS and what you can sort of get away with. Yes, you can safe spot like this if you want to conserve prayer, and I recommend, especially for the first few melee waves, learning how the melee drags around the pillar. And you'll notice that you can move between like these spots here to deal with them. This is barrage without any gear, by the way. I'm trying to pray melee and kill him. When we have nibblers on North Pillar, we kind of want to kill them. It's quite important. Tanking bats, not a big deal. Onto melee. Okay, I can flick Rigor again if I want to speed things up. Otherwise, I'm just going to AFK with melee pray on. Great. You can use a bat safe spot, which is here. This tile you should have marked. This is your tile for 50 starts. And we just stand one tile west of that, and we can reach the bats. Bofa, by the way, you can use Bofa to get further away NPCs, and it's pretty good on pretty much everything in the Inferno. So don't shy away from using Bofa. Let's do one barrage and just pray melee. We're not going to move. Moving is a big bad thing. Well, that was a misclick, but don't move. Unless you have a reason to move, don't move. In this case, there was one NPC here, and the classic first caper movement is to like fucking leg it south for no reason. Like, just, I'm praying melee, bro, you know? And this guy dies. People often overcomplicate Inferno, and I'm trying to really show that that doesn't really matter at all. So, click blob, and guess what? We've seen this blob before. We know what to do in this position. We're going to stand here when he dies, and we're going to pray mage. Going to switch to our gear with full HP, one ice barrage, and lo and behold, it just dies because I've got good RNG today. And I'm going to sip restore whenever I hit 50, just to keep myself topped up. One barrage, and then duck around the pillar. This is your other, like, good start. In this case, I ducked round because there's lots of stuff up here. This blob is coming around the pillar, so let's go the other side. And I can use the Bofa to finish up this nibbler. Lo and behold, this guy is in the same position again. One big concept we're going to cover as we go into later waves is controlling the melee. Whenever he hits you, this resets his dig timer, and you have about 15 seconds until he digs again. So we're going to be doing that a lot. And again, blob, standardized position, fantastic. There's only 3 positions, and the last one is yet to come. That's when the blob is over on this side here, but we'll deal with that in a minute. We stand in, pray mage, switch to our gear, barrage the center one, and when it's a big barrage, switch to blowpipe. Note that when you have this guy here, or anything trapped on these corners especially, and you try and attack it, you will be pathed out into the line of sight of everything south. To alleviate this, step 1 north, and you can now attack. You're just like, you're untrapping the line of sight sort of thing. So I'm low HP, 75. Maybe I'll blood barrage this. And, okay, let's put Rigor on, and because there's a bat here, I do still want to flick the blob, but at the same time I want to DPS the bats down to just get rid of the NPCs. I'm going to simplify things by killing them. Simplify by killing is great. When this attack hits me, I can pray range, wait for the attack, and then go around the pillar, and this won't attack again. You have like a small window to move after he attacks. So we've transferred the blob over here and the melee over here, so now you have this guy which we just kill, and this guy's dragged on the pillar, and we know how to deal with it because it's a standardized position. And you can see where this is going. Every single wave, we're going to build on this knowledge, we're going to build on these positions, and it's going to make life very easy going forwards. Great range, gear on, barrage, pretty good barrage, swap gear, and clean up. Okay. Range spray, ice barrage, and we need this good camera angle, by the way. We want this really nice camera angle. This is when you start waves, you start like this. You want to see everything in the room. So instead of like facing directly south where you can't quite see over here sometimes, just flip your camera a bit like that. Have this nice field of view. Very important. Okay, so this melee is going to dig at some point. I'm going to flick that blob and then go around the pillar. And this guy is a standardized position, so I'm not going to be too worried about the melee digging. This blob is going to die before it digs. And now I'm going to barrage this and chill. Notice that this melee, if he dragged down... Ah, well, I'll show it in a minute, because bad timing. But what I'm not going to do here is click the melee. When the melee was underneath me like this, if I click him, I'm going to be dragged out. I can show you what that looks like. So if I'm here, and I click him, I'm going to get dragged out like that. And sometimes you do this and you get dragged in a really bad position. So if a melee ever digs on you, just be patient and don't click him and wait. Again, if you want to speed things up here, a bit of rigging. And by the way, don't be afraid to, like, if you want to just flick generally, you can. And again, standardized blob position, fantastic. Understanding that getting these guys into these positions will also help you speed up the waves and make you spend less time in the Inferno, which no one really wants to be here for their first cape. So it's pretty understandable. I'm 92 HP, let's send a blood barrage. Start this top is carrying, fantastic. And let's sip super restore, we're below 50. One barrage. And this is a double melee, so let's pray melee and just run out. No need to be scared of this wave, we don't have to hide or anything. We don't care about our prayer, we've got infinite prayer. And at this point we're on wave 16, which is, give or take, about a quarter of the way through the waves. Not quite, because HP increases on the later ones. But you can see we've used, like, not even one restore yet. Just camping prayer. And all I'm doing is clicking stuff and just killing it and speeding up the run a little bit. And that means that I've got less to worry about. I've got so much supplies for the entire run that I can do this the entire time. Right, after two big waves collapse, we get nibblers. And after a good barrage, swap into our proper gear and clean up with pipe. For what it's worth, you can use rigger anytime you want to speed things up or get some more DPS or get some more defense. For the rangers here, the same stuff applies. We're just going to clean up on this nibbler. There's only one NPC on me, so I can afford to do this. And I'm going to go click him. Nothing more to it. For big NPCs like rangers and mages, I do recommend flicking rigger, like this. It will speed things up greatly. You can also put it on your quick pres and lossless flick if you know how to, like this. If not, you can practice it or give it a go and, you know, whatever you fancy. One barrage, and in this case, I can just attack him to go around the pillar, let the bat drag in. I can, even if I want to, be preemptive and move to the bat safe spot to get ready for the bat. And now I can attack it whenever I like as well. A lot of what makes a good Inferno is preemptive movement and some planning. And I'm not going to get you guys to do too much planning throughout your first cape, and the only thing we really care about is the melees. As long as you can remember to plan for the melees, we're good to go. One barrage, and guess what? It's all range stuff in the room. Let's just click things. I don't really care about the bats or anything. It might drain some run energy, it doesn't matter. I can even practice my blow by walking on NPCs like this. This is the skill you need for healers. So I recommend trying to get good at this, or practicing in various places. If you have singular ranges, you can blow by walk like this, and you can get used to it. And this is really good. As a reminder, this FCF is the final one. Number 10 of 10. I'm planning to move on to some other fun stuff after this, including potentially TOB. Same example, like TOB walkthroughs on a 0kc account. No one's going to know me, I'm just going to literally just run in and get a team and show you guys how to get a team, basically. So if you're interested in learning TOB, check it out in a couple of weeks, or maybe a week from now. Right, this guy, we've dealt with him before. We kill, we move in, barrage, and off we go. A good enough hit means we can switch. And I'm taking damage, but it just doesn't matter. You guys are being pretty mean today. And you can be ramboed by mini blobs, it's just unlikely. I took 50 HP of damage, that's extremely unlikely. And anytime we do this, just start barraging. Make sure you're on this before you go, preferably. And that's it, we're chilling. We have 2 blowpipe specs at our disposal, but what I'm doing is I'm saving those for clutch scenarios. That usually involves killing a melee, or killing a ranger. You can DPS rangers and you can DPS melees quite happily. Blobs are okay, but the mini blobs are going to pose problems, especially if they're quite far away from you. So as a rule of thumb, we generally try to DPS melee. It's the one that will cause you the most issues. Now I'm low HP, so I can blood barrage this. And I'm just going to duck behind the pillar and pray mage. Everything is up here, so I'm just taking a breather for a second. Don't actually know why I took that damage. Maybe I'm a bit slow. Okay, by standing still here, this corner traps the ranger, and again, these are corner traps. If I attack him, I get dragged out, so I'm going to take a step back. Nothing's on the pillar, even if it was, no big deal. I can heal from the ranger, but the blob is just a better heal target overall. The mini blobs, rather. And it's better to heal from the ranger in late waves. It's a bit more consistent and less dangerous. But blobs in the early waves are great. We can also turn off our rigger now, I'm not too afraid. Switch to our gear, and I can demonstrate by going all the way back here. You can even take off negatives if you want a really big heal. Put on augury, and we're going to double cast immediately. So, range cast, and prepare a 3rd one, and prepare a 4th one, and prepare a 5th one. Sometimes the hits aren't great, and you can just keep spamming this. I can even do it on the bat. The bat is far enough away that I got a heal, I killed it, and then I got another heal. This is called phantom barraging. Very, 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 very big for first capes. Honestly, my heals weren't great there, but it's no big deal. Let's sip some more restore. Let's duck around the pillar. I'm not going to flick the blob, in case the ranger hit me. And if I get damaged, no biggie. It would be worse if I flicked my prayers, and then I got hit by the ranger. Okay, the ranger's coming down, let's take a step back, and start attacking. This is almost identical to last wave. So you start to see some patterns building in waves, and once you do it once, you kind of know how to do it in the next few waves. If you ever get it again anyway. Sometimes you'll just get complete random waves you've never seen before. But most waves, probably like 99% of waves for realistically like 99% of waves, are not going to pose issues to you, as long as you try and either DPS something, or keep it essentially very simple. Let's go back to the bat save spot. I'm going to pray against this guy. And at 86 HP, you can heal up from the bat, or you can just kill it, doesn't really matter. We want to stay around like 85 to 90 HP minimum. In the later waves, like wave 50, it matters a lot more to be higher HP. Right now, not so much. And I can also blood barrage early waves like this. Okay, here's our first interesting wave where we are being gate kept. Because these guys are on North Pillar, I'm going to just put rigor on and click them. I don't care about the blob at all, and then we're going to go click the ranger. Now we're going to do one-tick alternation. You can set this up whenever you like, and we're going to base it on the ranger timing. Ready? And you can see how long I took to set that up. And I guarantee, even if I didn't do that, I'd still be fine. Okay, we're going to wait for the blob to attack. Now I can stop flicking. And I'm going to flick when it hits me, same as always. The one-tick alternation you have to learn. Again, go to wave 4 and go to the first blob. If you're not sure how to do it, and practice. The blobs, when you one-tick alternate, don't exist. They simply don't exist. You have to time it to the ranger or to the major, but that's about it. Let's take a step back here. Well, all the way back, rather. In a straight line. Put on our gear, negatives off, augury on. I'm 67 HP, let's see where we go. 67 to 85, and 85 to 90. Okay, good enough. If I want to again, I can barrage here. And I'm sure to stand still. Don't panic. This guy can't get to me. Again, these 6 tiles are all safe. Now I'm going to kill him before he digs. If I think he's dying a bit slowly, I can start to put rigor on. I can either camp it or flick it. If you're feeling comfortable, one tick flick like this. But I don't care. We're just going to use rigor and only really for melee DPSing. The rest of this is going to be nice and simple. I don't like the effort personally, so I just don't flick. The benefits of 99 prayer and good gear. One barrage, and from here I can even take Bofa and try and get this guy, and then run back to our nice safe tile. And off we go. A lot of you guys have always asked, like, what about Eldritch, Lightbearer, SGS, Justy, Pegasian Boots, Suffering, all that stuff? Noob trap items. They do nothing for you, except slow you down or reduce your ability to learn. And, sure, a good player might get a cape using them. It doesn't mean that, you know, that's the exception, not the rule. The rule is DPS stuff. And if you guys are thinking that this is bullet BS, basically, go have a look at some of the other videos, go to the comments, and just see how many people are getting, like, extremely fast capes. And, having, like, actual fun doing the Inferno, which is great to see. These methods do work. Lots and lots of people are reaping the benefits right now. I'm just going to Bofa this guy from afar. Notice we're staying, like, our 3-tile distance out from the pillar. And really, all this comes down to is a bit of practice. We're taking a couple of melee hits here just to keep him in place. You can just practice doing it whenever you want. Again, this is all a practice thing. If you want to get used to the timing of putting your prayer on. And now he's not going to dig for a while. Right, nice camera angle. Let's see what we got. The waves are beginning to get interesting. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put Rigor on, because I've got two things here I can't really deal with. I'm going to kill these guys. And then I'm going to go click the Ranger. At a convenient time, I'm going to start one-tick alternating. Notice how like, little I care to rush this. At some point, the melee's going to dig as well. I keep flicking until the blob attacks me, and then I go back to doing it normally. The melee's dug, and I don't want to fight these guys at the same time, so let's run away from them and just go behind the pillar. I took one hit from that, no big deal. One thing you can do for melees is you can always step out and then in, and then maybe pray against the blob and then pray against the melee. You can untrap melees, and you can untrap bats like that as well. Alright, this is finally the third blob position. This is the third standard position. Notice again, just like for the start there, there's no panic, there's no movement. It's literally just like, okay, well, kill the nibblers, put Rigor on, and DPS something. In that scenario, I don't even have to one-tick alternate to kill the Ranger. I can literally just dump 2 blowbite specs if I'm getting low, and that's it. Okay. For this blob, on the west side of North Pillar, we kill it from over here. And it's the same as if we were killing it when it was north. So we stand here or further back, but not here and not here. And we can just chill, pray range, and we get this nice formation. I can step really far back if I want to heal. Again, negatives off, augury, barrage once, barrage twice, prepare a third, and keep going until they're all dead. I'm at 92 HP, I'm at 99, and I can go to my proper gear to finish up. Let's use another dose of restore. One barrage here. I was a bit late on the barrage, but I'm going to catch the 2 at the back. Now let's kill the bat. And what I'm going to do is kill the melee as well. I don't have to care about this pillar at all. Pillars are extremely overrated. The only one that matters is North Pillar. We want to always, always save North Pillar, but West and South don't really matter. Now, if you're doing a first cape run after this melee dies, I would recommend going and killing these nibblers. I'd also recommend putting Rigor on for this guy, because if he digs, it's going to cause issues. And we can do like a 2-way, we can barrage, and just take a hit from the blob, and just run back. So if you're really doing a first cape, you want to try and save your pillars a little bit more. Don't go too crazy, don't just go down to like 10 HP, but you can afford to take a bit of damage. You can afford to do stuff like this. Like, you're in control here, you can always go and hide. But this is the issue with doing stuff like this, is that sometimes you'll just noodle. And you'll end up taking 10-15 hits, whatever, from a dozen NPCs, and it's just not worth your time. Right, let's go kill this guy. We're making sure to not go around this edge of the pillar. If I stand one south, the blob can see me. And again, we're going to not heal from the Ranger, but the blob, because the blob is a bit easier and a bit faster to heal from. Okay, we have a standard position. Let's go finish up. You can, if you want to, put your shield on for these guys as well. Getting a couple more heals in here. Notice I get dragged out again if I do this, gotta be very careful. I wouldn't recommend healing too much unless there's only like one that you can pray against. If you got two of them, they will kind of just damage you more than you heal usually. I can Blood Barrage to start here. And let's put on Rigor, there's a lot of stuff in the room. Let's start DPSing these bats just to get rid of them. And I'm going to do the same thing for the melee. Again, if you want to flick Rigor here, you can flick Rigor, just like this. Or just camp it, no biggie. We've got Nibblers on the pillar, let's not worry about that right now. Okay, now we can go click the Nibblers and the Ranger. I'm going to take Rigor off. So, DPS solution has reigned supreme so far. There are no waves that I've encountered that would have killed me if I didn't just click something. And all that stems from standing still here and assessing what's going on. If you make a panic movement, basically if you move without reason, that's a bad movement. You want to try and think about why you're moving. Is there something that I can't flick because it's unflickable with the other NPC? Is there like a melee coming towards me that isn't safe spottable, you know? Stuff like this. One barrage, let's swap our gear and finish up. 92 HP, I'm not below 90, so let's just use an ice barrage. And let's duck behind the pillar. There's a lot of stuff over here, and I'm going to try and flick these two guys as well. There's a melee, there is a melee that's going to dig on me at some point, so what I want to do, preferably, is kill this blob. But notice that the melee's coming towards me and it's corner trapped. What can we do? Let's take a step out, release it, and attack. Let's use Rigor to make sure it dies before it digs. I still have to flick the blob, so if you want to just camp Rigor again, this is fine. I'm just like doing this from habit mostly. And now I've eliminated the thing that might pose a threat to me. Okay, we have a stack here, a nibbler over here. I should really kill this blob to make life easier for myself. Let's just reduce the amount of NPCs I have to deal with. Ignore the nibbler, man. The pillars do not matter. Take a step in. Get the barrage off. Swap to my tank gear. Start DPSing. Pray against this guy. Okay, great. There's a blob here and a ranger. We know the blob doesn't do much. Let's just go and bow for this. I can flick Rigor for the next hit. Let's run back. I might take 2 blob hits. Am I concerned? No. Alright, I got a stack here. We need to alternate. For our first alternate stack, there are 2 ways we can go about doing this. You get a lot of these, so you got to learn to do this properly. We're going to start with range pray for the ranger in case of blobs, and in the case of blobs, and we're going to alternate after 1 attack cycle. This is not the best way of doing it, but it is a nice easy way to get in and base it off the timing. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to attack anything, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we go out, the ranger attacks, get ready, and start alternating. At this point I can click something to attack, and I should be attacking already. Let's just take a step back here. And now this is how we should really do it. You want to attack something immediately, and I'll use a pipe spec as well to get some HP back, and alternate immediately. The immediate alternation timing requires a bit of practice, so don't worry if you don't get it first time. In this case, the tiles are a bit awkward, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here to be able to attack the ranger, and then alternate immediately. When you pipe spec, you should always really use Rigor as well. So you can see how, like, this isn't very difficult to do. And if you can't yet do it, you have to improve your timing and get to a stage where you can do it. You can even just carry on and keep clicking the blob. I gotta take a step back here in order for them to spawn. If I stand here, it won't work. I'm 52 HP, so let's try and get some HP back. And you guys have seen this process a few times now, so I'm not going to explain it anymore. I'm just going to do it. We come back, we manual cast, we keep manual casting, and we go from like 50 to 87 HP. Not bad. We can do the same thing. Let's use restore, by the way. Let's build barrage here and get some more of the nibblers. And let's just duck behind the pillar. Whenever a melee spawns, if it spawns up here or down here, it will reach you on north pillar, which means you're going to have to make a movement or stand still and kill it. In this case, there's nothing on this side, so I can come behind the pillar. Okay. At this point, I'm going to demonstrate a pretty interesting melee trap, and this applies to most NPCs. If you're in later waves, this is something I'll do a lot in this run, and it will help you a lot. Basically, you take a step out, and then you take a step diagonally up. And what we're doing is we're using this guy as a pillar. So by standing here, this is where I was, this is how the melee digs on you. It takes its northeast tile and digs to you. And this corner trap is the same as the pillar. It's like if I'm standing here, I can move in, and then this NPC is like the pillar. Oh, I'm bad at movement. Let's just take a step down. It looks a bit confusing, but it'll make more sense after I do it a few more times. And doing this will give you a nice easy safe spot for the melee at any time. Well, most times. There's 2 rangers, so let's be brave and go and click some stuff. Pipe is really good for cleaning up, so let's use that. We are on wave 33, which means we're nearly halfway through the waves. Again, HP does increase, so waves get a bit slower, but it only really matters once we hit 50 or so. I know a lot of you want the wave number on screen, but I promise you, it really doesn't do anything for you. If you care about the waves, you're going to stop caring about what's actually in the wave. Number goes up is great, but there's a lot of RNG involved, so when you're learning, you can look at the waves, just don't really care about the wave number. Care about how you're solving the wave and how well it went. If you're wondering, like, where I am in the run, well, unlucky, I guess. You can figure it out based on the NPCs that spawn. That's about it, really. Oh, I need to pray mage. I am just forgetful. So 1 attack is fine, only a 23, no biggie. And we're just going to Bofa this guy to death. I do recommend using Rigor. Again, I'm tired, I just woke up. Oh, and you can blow pipe these guys as well. If they're low HP, piping is good. But Bofa is, of course, really nice for dealing with them with the long range. You can sync it up. You can also change your quick prayers at this point in time to mage, pray, and rigor. I don't like doing that, but I recommend it. And now we've got a bit of damage taken. Let's keep our mage pray on, sip some restore, and get some HP back from these guys. I'm going to cast 1 more, and then switch to my blowpipe, and go to bat safe spot, just to make sure this guy doesn't hit me now. I'm going to kill him, and then attack the mage. At this point, I can pick up my restores as well. So we've used not quite 2 so far to get through, like, approximately 35% maybe of the Inferno. And run back to bat safe spot real quick and just kill him. When an NPC respawns, it's a 1 in 10 every time he attacks the major, and it has half its base HP when it spawns. Now, it's not going to respawn again, so if you kill it, it can't respawn. So in the case of any respawned NPC, you can usually just kill it, and it's not a problem anymore. You can also just safe spot it or deal with it later, but instantly killing it is fine. Both is a very consistent weapon as well. It's not quite enough to out DPS a major if a melee is trying to dig on you, but it is enough to get through if it's like respawned a melee or something. Okay, blowpipe on, rigor on, and let's click this bat. Want it to die fast. Rigor off now. Bofa on, click major. Don't worry that the bat drains some stats. I got kind of unlucky as well, but it doesn't matter again. You're going to go up over time. Now, when it respawns, it's a whole 2 attack cycles, so I can afford to pray range for a little bit to do that, but if you're not sure, just pray mage. Now, because it's a 2 full attack cycle when it respawns, if I'm wanting alternating, for example, I can continue to do that without issue. And whenever you're flicking the major, you can keep the same consistent pattern even while it respawns stuff. So if you notice it doing that, don't panic and run away, just keep doing what you're doing. Now, if it respawned a ranger in the middle of the room, I'd be a bit more concerned, but a bat, no big deal, or a blob, no big deal. A lot of people will tell you to kill the mages first, and this is of course because we don't want them respawning stuff. It's a waste of time and resources to kill stuff twice. So if preferable, we leave stuff other than the major till last. But don't be afraid to just DPS it if it's in your way. 1 barrage, click the ground. If I don't click the ground, eventually I'm going to be dragged out. And we have another pillar stack here. A bit like the ranger and the blob, what we need to do here is choose a way to deal with it. So you can either click the major, wait an attack cycle, and flick. That looks like this. Get ready. That was waiting a cycle, and I tanked the blob, which is great. This is how it looks while instantaneous. Again, this is a practice thing. Put some time in, get good at it. This is basically our universal solution. Normally I keep alternating until the blob attacks, but if you just move behind the pillar and alternate for a bit, you're fine. One thing I haven't talked about yet is plugins. I should have done it at the start, but I have low detail on, which removes all the crap in the middle of the room. I have entity hider on, which will delete dead NPCs. That stops me misclicking on them. And these tile markers for NPCs are good to know how they stack up on the pillar and where they move and the line of sights that they might have. And other than that, I don't really have much on. That's no plugins really help you for Inferno. You can get these tiles online and don't mark the middle one. You want this one marked. That's honestly about it. That's all it is for Inferno. But those 3-4 things are quite useful. GPU plugin is also really good. GPU plugin allows me to increase my render distance. That allows me to see past the north pillar, which is really great. South pillar, rather. And there's a couple of these things, but I'd hope you're kind of already using a lot of them. One barrage, and let's go into blowpipe. When the blob stops moving is when I flick. Now. Nice little tip. We're gonna let this hit me, flick, and move around the pillar. And that applies to all the blob stuff. Whenever the blob stops moving is when you flick. That means it can see you. And that means that it's checked your attack, which is why you can flick. If you're wondering, like you're just standing here, there's like 2 blobs on you, just flick whichever one you can. Or just go around the pillar early. Either or. Alright, we've used 2 full restores to get here, and we're on wave nearly 40 out of 69. So we're over halfway through the waves now, and we've used like almost no supplies at all. If we can get to Zuck with 3 restores, that's plenty. Even 2 is enough, even 1 is enough. But don't worry about your restores too much, especially if you haven't got to Zuck yet. You need to burn your supplies. If you see me go low HP, I will brew. I'll use pipe specs. I'll use 3-dose, 4-dose restores a wave just to get through. And it doesn't matter how many supplies you use, because you need the experience. And if you die, all that experience is potentially lost, because you're dead. So don't worry very much about your supplies. And when you get to Zuck and you have like 2 brews, don't ask, is 2 brews enough for Zuck? Just do the Zuck. You can't increase the amount of brews you have, so just send the run. Sometimes you'll get through, sometimes you won't. Zuck is surprisingly not that intensive in terms of supplies. Okay, so there's a blob here. What I'm going to do is get the Bofa out and start flicking the blob. Rigor on to kill the bats. I'm still flicking the blob. What you can do is you can always flick. After the blob attacks, you can flick back. So there's the blob flick, and now I can flick back to range to protect myself against the bats. Alternatively, just camp range prey, or just flick the blob. It doesn't really matter. And now we have a gatekeeping scenario. If I go either side of the pillar, they're both going to see me here, and they're both going to see me here, which means I gotta go and be comfortable and confident doing one-tick alternation. So don't shy away from this. Sometimes it's just the easiest and best solution. There's the respawn, and I just keep one-tick alternating. The respawn doesn't matter at all. And we just keep going. The blob attacked me so I can stop. And I'm gonna go around the pillar. Okay, I took a hit from the blob, no big deal. And again, we have this standardized position. We can move up on this side of the pillar and kill him over here. One thing I've not yet talked about is screen size, or client size. When you're PVMing, if this is your first like hard bit of PVM you're doing, it really matters to keep your screen as small as possible. Sorry, your client, not your screen. It doesn't matter to make it like fixed size. So the blob stopped moving, so let's flick. That one stopped moving, so let's flick. And now we can try and get these flicks in. It doesn't really matter if you take a couple of hits here, we can just go around the pillar anyway. But the idea behind full screen is that... Sorry, let me refresh this. You don't want to be playing on full screen. It's okay to play on smaller client sizes, but nowhere near full screen. And I know a lot of you guys do this. The reason is because your eyes have to track the key areas on your screen, the NPC, my inventory, my quick primer orbs, my own character, and your mouse has to follow that. The bigger you make your screen, as you can imagine, the wider these distances go. And it means it moves out of your peripheral vision, your instantaneous click accuracy, like a lot of the time when you click, you do like this. And if it's far away, you might get close to it, and then recorrect. And this kind of like movement to get stuff that you need immediately, it's less easy to do. And as you get better at PVM, if you care about it especially, you might be okay for a first cape, but it's going to take you a bit longer. But as you try harder and harder stuff, if you want to go for Fan Kit, Blood Corp, or anything like that, or just get really good and try some speedruns and whatnot, full screen is going to negatively impact you big time. So if you want to get this cape and you want to get it faster and you want to improve down the road as well, consider getting off full screen. And that includes also changing your DPI on your mouse and making it so it's not flying across the screen at light speed. These things do matter, and they will help. Let's do one barrage, and we know that when a melee spawns up here or over there, it's going to get to me. Now there's a little trick here. After the melee attacks, I can click up, and it will get stuck. Which is quite nice. But yeah, consider not playing full screen. For reference, I play on 1040 by 635 pixels, and anything around there. I tend to say 1200 by 750 is the maximum you should go client size. And mouse DPI wise, you should be on 6 out of 11 for win sends, or you can be on 10 out of 20 if that's what your settings say. That's what you should have, and then your DPI can be anywhere from 200 to 1200. That's kind of the window we work with. The rest of that is preference, but that's like the window of preference. Anything less or more is probably negatively impacting you. But at the end of the day, if you've been playing on it for years and years and years and your click accuracy is fine, don't let me tell you what to do, just take away the lessons from the Inferno. Let's finish up with Pipe Hit. And again, Sip Restore. So we're well into the 40s now. Get a barrage in, and this is the same again. Let's duck round the pillar. You can also, if you want to, duck up here instead. This is a similar thing, except it gives you access to stuff on this side of the room, and keeps it stuck. You can do the same thing for the north side of the pillar, where you can drag this NPC up and down. Now, if I take one more step, he's going to unfree from the pillar. And this is the kind of stuff you can go to the first melee wave, and you can learn how this stuff works. And you can play around with it, and just sit there for 10 minutes. Use one run to get to wave 4, and then wave 4 learn how the blob works. And then get to the melee wave, and then learn how the melee works. And just spend 20 minutes doing that instead of doing like, 5-10 waves on an attempt, where you really care about getting to Zerg. And you'll understand how some of this stuff sort of feels to work with. What I'm doing right now is just resetting his dig timer. I don't want him to dig on me, it's going to be annoying. And now when this major dies, I might run over here, for example. Or I can just bow for the bat. I can even bow for the bat right now. Let's get ready to take another hit. I just wait for the major attack, step in, step out. We can use Bofa here or Pipe here to finish up. And now we can go and take another hit, and back out. We're just getting comfy with this. If I take one hit from the major or from the melee, it's not the end of the world. But we're getting comfortable, we're adding it to our arsenal as another thing we can do. And every time you gain a skill like that, the waves increase. In terms of survivability in the waves, it just gets exponentially better. One barrage, and maybe we can try and get a cheeky Bofa on this Nibbler. It does work, that's good. Let's go for the bat now. So I can't move around the pillar, otherwise the melee sees me. Okay, we're good here. I'm going to show you guys another melee trap. There's lots of these you can learn. By standing here, when the melee digs, I take 2 steps back. Let's pray range. Kill this guy real quick. Get back to the major. Okay. And by standing here, on the corner of the pillar, we're just going to move back. Melee digs, move back. This looks scary, but it's going to slide in. There's loads of these. I'm going to show you as many as I can throughout the run. If you've watched other runs, you'll know there's different variations of this, and I've shown them before. Unfortunately, I can't, unless I spend 20 minutes on a melee wave, I can't show you all of them. But that's the idea. If the melee digs on me now, I can move up here again, or I can move back down here again. These 2 tiles are great to move to. I'll showcase this tile here. In general, you run round the pillar, then take a step down, and keep going until you get to a safe position. So, we run round the pillar, and then we run down until we're in a safe position. You want to do this to both gain access to the melee, and sometimes he spawns up here, and then drags down diagonally. And you have to keep this diagonal from him, otherwise you're doomed. Both are pretty strong here. We can pipe it as well. Another dose of restore. We really just do not care about burning our supplies. Wave 44 now. One barrage, and let's run behind the pillar. From here, I can pray mage and come around this side. This blob is slotting in. I don't have to worry about him too much. If you're not sure whether it's going to work, you can always test. And as we get to later waves, I'm going to be talking about testing. Testing just means that you go out and do a hit, basically, and see what happens. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you gain more info about what you can and can't do. When the melee digs, if I'm standing here or here, I move to here or here, like so. So these two tiles goes to these two tiles. And now I'm just going to kill it. This is another melee trap thing, you just have to learn. Depending on where you are, it might sort of spawn on you a bit differently. So from the middle of the pillar or here or here. When we're just staying in the edge of the pillar, down to here or here. Same thing, if it spawns up here, we can go like over here. We're just using this sort of like, you move in and diagonally sort of thing. Alright, there's a blob on me. Let's make sure to pray against it, and we can Bofa this guy or pipe him down. Maybe one hit on the blob and let's go back to our position. We want to stand here to drag him in position. And now he's there. One barrage, not bad. Let's switch our gear and clean up. Remember to pray mage for the last guy over here. Good stuff. Okay. Mage pray on. Good camera angle. One barrage, and let's run for our life. Pray range for a moment with rigor on. And I'm going to pray melee in a second here. Okay. This is a dangerous position. If I move across to attack the major, this melee is going to come around and attack me. So what I should do here is simply reduce the amount of NPCs in the wave and just kill it. There is a couple of nibblers on South Pillar, and there's two of them, so let's get ready to barrage. I can put some gear on, pray mage. Ignore the blob. We can always get our HP back. And let's go back. Don't bother flicking at all, just run away. Crystal Armor has really good range defense, so it's not too often you'll get hit. But you can afford, again, to do maybe one or two things like that. But if you start hitting like 50 HP and they're not dead, consider running back to North Pillar or brewing. Okay, the melee respawned, and it's going to be annoying if it digs. But these guys don't respawn, so it's half HP and we can just kill it again and it's not a problem. Bofa's exceptionally good at doing this. You can reach them from afar, whereas Pipe, a bit more awkward to get to. Let's use more restore. Gonna organize my supplies nicely. I can also prepare to use my shield again if I want to. Notice I'm dragging my supplies up. I'm just leaving like all the dead space at the bottom here, which is quite nice. Makes me just able to click on something at the top easily. Keeping it all compact. And over the course of waves, I'll keep shuffling up my supplies as I need to use them. Okay, I've killed a lot of blobs from this side. Let's say you had to kill the guy from over here. Just as an example, you would move up. We move up, put our gear on. You can always put augury on and sea shield if you want more defense. This is like your maximum tank. And then pipe to finish. It's not quite as good as doing it over here, and you can't really phantom it, but it's effective. Alright, gear on. One barrage, and let's just duck behind over here. Don't worry about these hits. Okay, let's put on rigor, pipe spec, and pray melee. The second one hit and healed me, and it dealt a big amount of damage. I'm not worried about the blob in the slightest. I'm literally just praying melee. Now I can start flicking the blob. I might get the right prayer, I might not. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Nibblers on South Pillar. Looks like it's going to fall. Okay, that's fine. We don't care about South Pillar. I need to get this flick timing right, so I'm making sure to do it correctly for the blob. And in a second, I'm going to go and attack the major. So the next time I flick to mage, here, let's go and attack. And start alternating. If you're not sure there, take a brew. Get some restore in you. Get to 100 HP or higher. And then go for it. Now my South Pillar's gone. And that's actually really good for me. May seem a bit strange, but South Pillar causes issues post 50. Ooh. Did not mean to do that. It's okay though. Finger slipped on the hotkeys. The melee's gonna dig at some point. Let's take a sip of restore to get my stats back. And this melee is gonna dig. So I have to have a plan for it. Now, I know it's fairly low HP. Let's take a step out if I can do. Pray melee now, and just attack it with Bofa. Pray melee yet again. Same thing. DPS solution is good. Now, this blob is over here. Let's wait for it to attack. And move around the pillar. I burned a bit of prayer. I used an accidental dose of brew, but it's okay. Got plenty of supplies. So the idea with South Pillar is that if South Pillar exists, the Major can drag around the pillar post 50, and it can cause you issues if you stand here. But if it's dead, that can't happen. So you can stand here and nothing from the south side will hit you until it gets really close, giving you a lot of time to react. Now, it's not essential that South Pillar dies, but it is essential you keep North Pillar healthy. Right, one barrage, and there's too much stuff up there, so what I'd like to do is go around the pillar, pray melee, and just DPS the melee. There is a melee flip to deal with blobs, and that looks like this. You alternate, but you do the entire cycle. This will catch most attacks from the blobs, but not all of them. And it is quite effective. Let's put Augury on, put Mage Prey on, put our gear on, and we're going to Blood Barrage these Gel Nibs. Trying to flick as much as I can, but don't worry too much. Just get the flicks in. I'm not flicking correctly at all, I'm just trying to flick. And sometimes I'll catch a few, sometimes I won't, but it's better than doing nothing at all. So we want to protect North Pillar, which means prioritizing that melee, then the nibblers. Now these guys are stuck over here, which is great. So this was the first sort of semi-complex wave, I guess, and that sometimes happens. But again, DPS solution is good. Don't over-panic or anything. And if in doubt, just pray melee and kill the melee. The flicking I was doing there is like a thing you can incorporate into your runs if you want to, but it's just not make or break. Right, we got two blobs, so for the first one, I don't really care where I kill it from, because I can heal off the last one. And when they come out like this, they're both attacking together. And now for this blob, I can come back and attack him normally. Let's go really nicely far back. Take out my negatives, Augury on. You guys have seen this before now. One barrage, two barrage. This should give me 99. There we go. And this is where the waves start collapsing. We're going to start using Sea Shield from the next wave onwards. One barrage, proper gear on. Sometimes when you get multiple NPCs like this, you can see it kind of like slides alongside this guy, and he's going to come down and attack. But in this case, he is safe spotted. Natural safe spot, which is quite fun. If this was a bat, this guy could probably attack me. So this isn't always safe, but you have to assess whether the melee is like moving down and gonna get stuck or not. That's why these boxes around the NPCs help a lot to determine whether or not they're gonna hit you or not. Okay, so he digs, and I'm gonna move over. I should have been killing the Major anyway, just autopiloting. It's okay if you do a little bit of it, but it might just mean this guy gets respawned. Right on cue, thank you. And now we have an issue. So let's say like one of these guys digs. Now the thing is, when melees spawn, they will dig together. Once they dig once, they can be off-ticked, and it's more likely they will be. Which means these guys aren't going to dig together. So this is the wave 50 plus, where you have to start thinking about melees. Well, not more like 58 or so. You have to start thinking about what to do with melees. In this case, I'm going to stand over here. So for example, this guy digs, I stand here and pray melee. And this guy digs a bit later, which is great. I can right-click and attack, gotta be careful with the right-clicks, and I can just kill them. But the idea is like I'm making a plan for the waves, even if it's a really simple one. And I'm alleviated from having all this sort of like pressure because I'm not flicking, because my gear is good. You can see how this plays in a bit now. From this wave onwards, we're going to do a few different things. Kodai, Occult, Crystal Shield, but no Virtus Top. You can put Augury on if you want to. Okay, let's pray rate. Oh, careful. This is why you have to click the ground, because you get dragged out. Okay, we want to drag this guy closer. We can do this by standing here. He will move in 2 tiles, and we can now attack him. I believe you can't do stuff like that, which is why I flicked the Major. You have to be a bit careful now because you have these two guys, these big powerhouses in the Inferno. You can't just go and do stuff. You have to be very careful on your pathing. We can come around and attack here though. Let's use more restore. We've barely used 5 and we're well over halfway through. 50 is like more than halfway through. So let's use another 5 and we still have 4 remaining, which is great. The waves take a bit longer, so that's fine. And again, this is essentially 0 flick run, so if you want to flick and get some more prayer, feel free. If you're really not confident, you're brewing a lot, you can drop up to like 3 restores and just flick a bit more. We also have 2 Bastions in the inventory, and a stem, remember. Stem you can use literally any time. You need 2 doses for Zerk realistically. 1 sometimes is fine, you can even do it on 0. But don't be afraid if you're getting very low on run for whatever reason to use some. As for the Bastion, we are going to want to start using that when we get to 60s to breeze through the waves and give us a bit more damage and defense. You can also just brew 1 dose and then get some super restore in you for some more defense. It does help. And it can help you get to 115 HP, which will help you tank a bit more as well. Okay, 1 barrage here, and let's just move around. I move to this tile a lot, because it's a really stable tile. Let's go to Nibbler's safe spot, that's up here. We can right-click and kill. And let's get ready to go around the pillar when the major attacks. Notice I put Rigor on immediately as a reaction, just to get more defense and damage in to kill the bat, because even though it's a bat, it can still chip you away. In the early waves it didn't matter, but now we're at 50s. 50s is a different beast entirely. I should not be killing the Ranger, by the way. Ranger is my healing now. I should be killing the Major and healing off the Ranger. There are certain things you can do. If you made this mistake and you're really low HP, you can either brew, or you can kill the Ranger and then sit here and wait for the Major to respawn it. So you have some options no matter what. In this case, I'm happy to Blood Barrage the next wave, or just brew if I'm in a pinch. But they are relatively easy waves, so I'm not too fussed. Let's get our barrage ready, and go. I should be able to get a decent heal here. 84 is okay. Tank gear on. I'm going to put Augury on because I made a mistake there, and Blood Barrage here for some extra HP. Now let's pray range. Duck behind the pillar, again going to this tile here. The reason this tile is so good is because it corner traps anything over here. And the corner trap is really nice. Bofa on to kill this guy, and okay, we have our first pillar stack. We can use more restore here. And if this is your first pillar stack, brew up and then restore and get some pots in you. What we're going to be doing here is pretty simple. And by the way, if you're facing an unknown pillar stack that you haven't seen in one of these runs, go to We Do Raids, the Discord, and have a look at the guide in there, or go to Exact's guide on YouTube. Those are the 2 really great ones right now. And they'll have all the pillar stack solutions that you'll ever need, plus more info. The way we deal with these is we click the back NPC, for these 2 in particular. That will drag you out from this tile to this tile, assuming you have run on. It looks a bit like this. Now what I'm doing here is I'm testing. I'm clicking back immediately to see what hits me. Now if the Major hit me, I'd still be alive and I'd have to brew, but I'd also understand that this doesn't work. So I'm getting a feel for the timing right now. And what I can do now is maybe do 1 hit and pray Mage. And then go back in. Okay, so now I have a feel for the timing. Let's commit. So we're going to need to one-tick alternate this. If there were blobs in the stack, I don't need to worry about them. And what we want to do is kill the Major first. So you can do some stuff like, for example, this. So what I did there was, I went range pray, mage pray, and then clicked the Major. Or you can just immediately path out and click if you're comfortable. Like this. It doesn't matter how you set it up, but as long as you have a feel for the timing, you should be fine. This isn't the only flick pattern either. You can do stuff like this. If you want to conserve more prayer. You can even 2-tick. Get a cycle going. And you can flick between the cycles. But I suggest one-tick alternating. This helps you keep your cycle It's the easiest to set up, easiest to do. If you're interested in Inferno, you want to do more beyond First Gate, you can start learning some of these patterns, you can start learning some of these cycles, and get a better feel for the overall game. But for now, we're going to stick to the base minimum, so just one tick alternate. You can even practice it on singular NPCs. You can do it throughout the game, you're doing Slayer, you know, you can do it anywhere. I should really be healing from him. I'll get one barrage in for a bit more HP. Okay. That wave took a bit of a long time, so we get a bit bored. Okay, let's run all the way to the major. I've got my tank gear on. Let's now pray Rigor and get the Bofa on. I can take Rigor off now. I'm in a stable position, and I'm going to start one tick alternating at my leisure. Don't care about the lob. I'm just focused on the major, making sure my timing's right. So in this position, the blob was up here somewhere, the ranger over here, and the major over here. What I could have done there was either move over to this tile, where the major and the blob sees me, or move over to this tile, where the ranger and the blob sees me. If I move over here by instinct or by reaction, then I have to kill the ranger, because the blob is out of range. If I move over here, I can kill the major, which is preferable. Doesn't really matter which way you go about doing it, as long as you do something. The key is to make a decision, and then stick to it. If it's horrendous, I mean, you can try and get out of it, but wait a second, then make a decision. You guys' decisions are not going to be as fast as mine, but you might take one more hit, and that's about it. Point is to try and make the decision. One barrage, and let's just pray range for a second. I would like this bat to die quickly, so I've got Rigor on, I'm going to go kill it. I would like this Nibbler to die, so let's get our Bofa on and go kill it. And now I can go and meet the blob and the major while praying mage, and then I can set up a cycle. Here we go. I can take Rigor off if I want to, if you can get the click in. Otherwise, just leave it on. Okay, now we can meet the ranger and alternate yet again. Now we let this guy drag in, and we have him in a standard position. $67 HP, a bit scary. So we do want to heal here. Go back, negatives off. 1, 2, prepare number 3. 95 HP isn't bad, let's pray mage just in case this guy gets to us, and go back to our start tile. Now we're on 95, I feel a lot safer. Let's use a dose of restore. Okay, expect the ground to stand still. What I'm going to do is come back here. Ranger can't see you here. And just pipe this guy with Rigor on, then kill this, and now kill the major. Rigor off. Remember, this major is trapping this ranger. If I stand here and I kill the major, eventually the ranger will come around the pillar. So I'm just looking at the wave and seeing what's going on, and I notice this is trapped here. So when I kill him, the ranger's going to come around and hit me. What I can do is I can preemptively move over here, and now when it comes around it gets stuck on this tile here. You can do little things like this to improve your run. And just having an idea about preemptive movement, looking at the wave and taking a second to essentially solve the puzzle is both pretty interesting and can yield some benefits. In this case, what we can also do is heal off this guy. Just checking I have my autocast. And it doesn't really matter if we do this on the blob at the end of the wave or the ranger here. But if you're ever low, if you're like, you know, 70 odd HP and the waves are getting more complex, it doesn't hurt to get a bit of a top up. So there's 82, and I'm pretty comfortable that 82 is enough to heal off the blob to 99. So now we can kill it. Let's go to bat save spot, kill the bat, and flick the blob. I'm gonna move in, let this guy drag in, and great, we can heal off this when it dies. There's 99. I mage for this fella, and we're good to go. Okay, let's click the ground, don't want to be dragged out. I gotta ignore this guy, and I'm gonna have to try and flick this blob. We now have a pretty interesting pillar stack, and this is one of those that, if you wanted to, you can kill this blob. And if you kill this guy, then you can take your time to figure out how this works. But if you read a guide and you just understand how to deal with it, you can just commit. I'd always recommend Rigor on. But this is no different from a normal stack. Rigor's on right now, so I can speed things up, because it is a dangerous wave. I'm in control, but it's still dangerous. Oh, I've gone into a speedrunner's habit here. You can do some fun stuff occasionally. If you get better at Inferno, you can learn to do stuff like this. You can get some big barrages off. You can also heal off this stack, and this hits everything here. Also heal off these guys. We don't need to worry about our pillar going down. Our north pillar is still pretty healthy. So we've got this guy for a few more waves, but we're also approaching the 60s. So we only really, at this point, have 10 more waves to get through. And our north pillar is going to survive for 10 more waves, especially if we try and protect it. So you can let your south pillar fall at 50, you can even let your west pillar fall at 50 or 60, and your north pillar can even fall at like 66, and it doesn't matter. Alright, we can also start waves with augury on if we want to, but it's not the biggest deal ever. And I'm going to come into the pillar, tuck myself in, and just kill this melee. Until this ranger comes around the pillar, which he has done. Now I can move out and protect the pillar, because it's behind south pillar. This is okay now. Being very careful with my pathing, don't want to get underneath the melee and dragged out. And we're left with another pillar stack. So once you hit this 58 wave, 57 wave, things become a bit easier yet again. Everything collapses, the blobs don't exist. And so it's the same procedure as before. You can always test if you're not sure, practice. And go. This melee's coming around the pillar. So we have to be aware of it. We can see it sliding. We just have to be aware. Okay, I'm on this tile right now. If I attack, I get hit by the major. We gotta stand in the middle and prepare. Don't rush things. I'm 99, I can both with this guy. He's fairly low. Start with augury on barrage here, and let's just tuck ourselves into the pillar. Now we want to get these, we want to be able to attack here, so let's move all the way back. The ranger's now behind the pillar, and I should be able to attack this guy here as well. The bat's coming, but it is only a bat, so let's not worry too much. Let's use some rigor. And the bat's dead. Right, the melee's gonna dig. I can't reach the ranger, the major. Let's wait for the attack and then go around the pillar. And what did we learn earlier? We learned that if we stand here or here, we can move here or here. Just in time, there we go. So we're building on things from previous waves that are now much more important now we have these 3 NPCs in play. Now, for example, let's say I didn't know about that, what do I do? Well, I can stand still, pray rigor, get my pipe out, and burn 2 specs on the melee, killing it. If I get hit down to 50, I can brew and attack, brew and attack, brew and attack, restore and attack, and keep going. The chances of this melee killing you are pretty very small. Possible, yes. Very unlikely. But now we have control of this NPC. We're moving up and down. We're not moving in and out because the ranger would see us, but up and down to keep control of it. If this guy digs again, it's a big issue, so we're getting ready. There's the major attack. In and out, and we're good to go. You can alternatively just kill it if you feel comfortable. Or if you feel uncomfortable. The main thing is having it in a safe spot, because once it digs and you're in a safe spot, you have time to kill it or choose an action or do whatever. In this case, one more in and out, and we're good to go. I can use Rigor to speed up the kill again on Major. Maybe click the melee, or melee, and we're good to go. So that entire wave, that solution, all stemmed on making sure that I understood how the melee pathing worked, knowing a bit about the safe spotting stuff, and also backing up myself with an idea that I can DPS it if it didn't work out. All things we've been learning throughout the run. We're getting to some of the harder waves now. So we've got to be a bit careful. I can actually stand still here, and the major is going to see me, and that's okay. I can also, the benefit of being here, I can trap the major if I want to. Oh. Okay. Remember, I can't run out like this. You got to take a step back. Yeah, the major, the ranger, nearly very pathed around the pillar. In which case I had some options. I could stand here or here and pray against one or the other. Now, at some point, the melee's going to dig, and I've got to have a plan for that. I could run over here and then pray range, but what I'm going to do is put rigor on and show you guys the DPS solution. Gonna wait for it to wiggle out. In fact, I can attack the major and then right-click the melee. Okay, now let's click the melee and get ready to double pipe spec. Do I even have to? No. And this is pretty typical of a melee. It's not that accurate. I've got rigor on for the defense as well. I'm not even brewed. And this is very typical of the melee. Sometimes it hits you big numbers, sometimes it doesn't hit you at all. The chances are you'll be fine. But the point is I'm getting ready. I've got rigor on already. I've got my double pipe specs at the hand. All that while I'm whittling down its HP. Hits me at 50, okay, double pipe spec, brew, attack, you know. You can go through the motions in your mind. You can kind of prepare yourself for what you're meant to do to make sure you're going to survive. And just mentally thinking about some of these things will save you, to be honest. That's all you have to do is just think about them. And then it'll be there in the back of your mind as a solution. Right, one barrage. Okay, click the ground, or make sure not to get dragged out that way, and pray range, not melee, god. Now, this melee is going to slide around. If I take a step in, it's going to shuffle the stack that way. But as it stands, I mean, I can just kill everything here and have an easy wave, so I'm going to do just that. I'm going to take a step down to prepare for the melee. And then up, and get some control, and now we're going to kill it. I'm going to put my proper mage gear on for barraging. In and out. With range spray, just to get some healing, not so much for the pillar. Now we alternate. If something respawns, I might duck behind the pillar. Depends what it is. This is the blob attack. I could have stayed still and just attacked him. Let's use even more restore. So we're nearly at the end of the waves now. We have like 6-7 restores left. This is 60 on the dot. And what I'm going to do here is Blood Barrage to 99. And then I'm going to brew. Actually, I don't need to brew here. I'm fine. But what I can do is Bastion Dose. Here we go. Now we're at 60. We can make use of this. Let's use Augury. 1 Barrage and Pray Range for everything. Just tucking myself into the pillar. And now I'm going to DPS some stuff. I have some options here. This blob is going to come around the pillar, so I'm actually just going to kill it to keep things simple. If I can try and get some flicks in from the ranger, I'll try and do that. Let's stand next to it. Get an Ice Barrage out. Be careful what I'm doing here because the melee is going to dig soon. Getting my Bofa on. Just trying to get some damage out. There's the melee dig, and I'm Bastion, so I'm going to go for the DPS solution. Let's get ready to pipe spec. Great. I mean, I'm getting relatively spooned this run, I'm not gonna lie. Let's alternate. I do actually want to be hit. Just so I can demonstrate, but that's the nature of the game. Right, 86 HP, and now we've Bastioned. We want to really breeze through these waves. So let's not shy away from damaging stuff. I'm gonna heal just fine from all these guys. We can even heal from the bat. Okay. Tank gear on. 1 barrage, and let's just trap this blob in prey range. Okay, I've got a guy on the pillar. What I'm going to do is go back here. Kill it. And now I'm going to kill the blob. I'm not even flicking, don't have to. We can blood barrage here for a bit of HP. Maybe send 1 more. Okay. It's a major, so let's pipe spec once instead. I'm not going to burn 2. And now I'm going to brew. What I want to do is come around the pillar and attack the major. Okay, I brewed 3 times. Let's click this melee. And let's Bastion again. I've got another pipe spec at the ready. Ignore the blob. Let's just focus on the melee. Just focus on the melee. Get ready to brew and get ready to pipe spec. There we go, that's pipe spec there. And it dies. Back on the major. And alternate when you can. Now. So I'm not worrying about the blob. Focusing on one thing at a time. We can very, very, very often ignore blobs. Kept rigor on the entire time. Pipe specs at the ready. Thinking about brewing. Used another dose of Bastion just to increase my damage. And we're fine. Go around the pillar. Deal with this guy. We're burning some supplies now, which is great. That's what they're for. And I am trying to speed things up just a little bit. Just to make use of my Bastion potion. I don't want to kill him from over here, I still want to bring him in. I'm trying to do things a bit faster, a bit more fluidly now. But not rushing. Good position, good camera angle, augury on. 1 barrage, and let's take a step here. Let's click the major. And alternate. This melee gets stuck. And the 2 lobs don't do anything. Now, I'm going to take a second to just pray mage and click the melee. And alternate when I can. I thought about it for a second. And realized the melee was going to dig. Let's pray mage, click the major, and begin alternating whenever I can. So we're taking a second each time we want to do another action. We're not rushing it again. We can afford to take blob hits. Okay. Pipes back on, or pipe on. Let's get 1 more flick in, and alternate this. And again, the entire time we're doing stuff here, we're being okay with the idea that we can take blob hits in order to make sure we're clicking on the right things and preparing the cycles correctly. Oh, that was bad. Last bit of the wave here. Nice standardized blob. Let's move back. Get some decent barrage hits in. And we can brew as well. I'll be honest, I was sneezing there, but if you want to brew, you can brew. Now we want to be a bit careful here. Let's take a step in to let this ranger drag around. And we want to get these guys on the pillar. So let's get our mage gear on. Just send a barrage or two. Keep right clicking to kick the melees. Maybe both for this last guy, and we're fine. We know this guy at some point is going to dig. We can let him dig. Give him a second. Okay. Another dose of restore, and we've got 6 remaining, which is absolutely plenty. At this stage, if you want to keep things simple, it doesn't hurt at all to just kill everything. And for these ultra late waves, very funny. For these ultra late waves, we can afford to camp rigger until the end of the run now. You'll have to judge this yourself based on your pre-level, gear, and remaining supplies. But once you hit double major in particular, you want to be using rigger the entire time. If you can do. There's not much to focus on, so it's all about maybe just flicking rigger like this. Speeding things up, using your bastion wisely. And let's heal off this guy. We're still boosted 108 range, which is great. Defense 116, which is crazy good. There's 99. Let's finish up. Alright, we definitely want Augury on for this wave. One big ice barrage and hide, or do whatever you want to do. Okay, we can break ranger and move back here. These guys are in line with the pillar, this guy's not. We can definitely Bofa from here, I think. Yep. Okay, and we can move back now. We can let this guy slide in and see what's up. Okay. There's some very interesting and creative ways to deal with stuff like this. Wiggling to get a feel for what can move and where it's going is good. And these guys seem to be in line, so we can test. This guy's clearly stuck, so do these guys attack me on the same time? They do, that's good. Okay. So there's some stuff you can do with this. If you want to flick these guys, you can do stuff like this. So we're just gaining control of the back ranger and then incorporating the major. You could even do it like this. If you're comfortable flicking. But for the most part, I'd recommend just killing stuff. You could, if you want to make life really easy for yourself, kill the back one, because the back one is the one that's the problem. This one at the front is stuck with each other, but the back one can slide. You can see it's not quite, it's still like sliding along the back of the major. So if we kill the back one, then I can come over this side and kill the major for free. So we have a few options here. I'm choosing the nice easy AFK option. Threat's gone, now I can chill. If he respawns, I can do the same thing. These 65 waves can be quite interesting. They're always a bit different. There's the respawn. Let's just run away for a second. Come around this side so the major can't see us, and kill him again. Right, range, make sure not to get hit, and off we go. Next wave is double majors, and then Jed, then triples, then Zark. Bit of blowpipe bolt practice, we need this for healers. And now we don't have to be afraid at all. Double mages poses no issues, we just stand wherever we want to. One nice barrage to finish up the nibs, and start clicking. For what it's worth, might be nice and easy to keep these guys closer together, in case I want to kill one than the other rapidly. These guys can revive each other, which we'd like to prevent if possible. Should be really using Rig here. We can use another dose of Bastion at some point whenever. We want one full one for Zuck. As for the other one, doesn't really matter when we use it. I shouldn't have killed this guy. I was meant to keep him on low HP, but I talked too much. So we probably have to deal with a respawned one, but we might just get lucky and DPS, you never know. We're at about 90 minutes approaching Zuck. It's about right. Sometimes these get done in a bit under 90 minutes, a bit over 90 minutes. First capes probably go up around until around 2 hours maximum, but you shouldn't really ever be going up above 2 hours unless you're doing some really bad stuff. I mean, this run was super simple. Okay, we got to stand away from the pillar. Nearly took a bit of damage there. And for Jad, we want to stand here. This is your tile. This is your tile for pretty much all the Jads. We can also use a dose of brew, a dose of restore, and then lastly, dose of Bastion here. We want to just maintain our stats in case we get hit. We can always survive this hit. And this position, this camera angle is important because you want to see around the back of Jad. So try and imitate this very, very closely, and try and always stand here for every Jad you fight. We can always tag the healer back there, tag the healer up here. We can also pray melee for the healers. And notice just how this works out is really nice. We can even take a step back like this. And as you can see, these guys are getting stuck, as this healer's trying to get to us. So as a rule of thumb, if you start here, tag the healers on this side first, then tag the healers that are healing Jad. If there's any behind you, as long as there's one in front of you, run back. And if in doubt, just run north if lots are on you. If you keep moving up like this, then eventually you'll get to a place where they don't get stuck. This is a very, very nice one, of course. Sometimes you'll only get one back here, maybe two back here. But the 0 damage from being able to run over them and trap them is nice. Alright. Now we're going to go to the center of the room and get ready to do the same thing for Jads, for triple Jads. Same camera angle, South Jad, and start here. We want all Jads in camera angle. We want them all visible. And we're going to keep we're basically going to live in our prayer boat. We're not going to switch out of it. If you need to restore, find a good time. But you should restore before you start this, so you should be pretty full anyway. And remember, triple Jazz is very, very low APM. There's not much to do here, you just gotta do it precisely. And you have a big window as well. So most of this falls under nerves. If you ever have issues here, it's just nerves. Which is fine, you can practice, you can get rid of them. And once you kill one Jad, you're good to go. Here comes the first set of healers, one more attack. Maybe one more attack. There we go, let's attack the furthest one away first. And then the medium close one, and then the very close one. If we just stand still, there's only going to be one healer attacking us, which is fine. That's why this tile is so good. When we find a nice moment, I'd like to restore. Maybe after this Jad attacks, and then back to our prayer book, click on Jad. Don't worry about the healer damage. Unless you're a pure, you're going to be just fine. We can now click this Jad, or the other one. You can run between them or around them. Just keep them in line of sight of you, so you can visibly see them, and move to this tile. Or this tile. Doesn't matter which one. Another dose of restore. And our damage looks pretty good. Okay, we have one to tag. Let's get the Jad flick in. And now tag it. We don't have to rush tagging at all. And once it gets next to us, we can run back, like so. And they fall in and trap it. Let's run across. Same position for this jab. This looks like single jab, and it basically is. Okay, we got some behind. Let's tag one, right click, tag two. And this guy's already trapped, no need to tag him. That's it, they just line up so that you can see the power of this like position. Very, very often you get good traps. Okay, we're entering Zuck with 109 HP. We need a bit more super restore and 108 range. It's nice to have preserve on for this entire fight if you have it and you have enough prayer, but don't worry too much if not. We're going to right click Zuck at the start, and as soon as the cutscene ends we attack, and then move to whichever side the shield goes. Go safe spot, one more attack, go to the edge. And now we want to try and keep our DPS on Zuck. We want to always attack. Here's the attack from Zuck, which means we can move to the next safe spot. These 3 tiles are dangerous. Everything else was not dangerous. There's the attack, I can move to the next safe spot. You don't have to be exactly on it, you just can't be ahead of it. Again, these 3 are the dangerous tiles, everything else is chill. And let's just attack. I haven't done it for a while, so I'm going to demonstrate how to off-tick sets in this one. In other videos you might see me tanking them, you might see me killing the ranger first. Really depends. But I haven't done an off-tick for a while. And it is the really nice, easy solution. Let's use more restore. The off-tick, we use our blowpipe, and we just attack consecutively the major, then the ranger. And now you can flick them. The flicking process isn't too hard, I do recommend trying it. It looks something like this. Attack the major, then the ranger, and then 2-tick flick. Oh, that was close. I think I took a step out too far. If you're ever struggling with DPS on the ranger, you can always double pipe spec. If you ever get Zuck attacked, by the way, just take a dose of brew. There's not much else you can do, but topping up your HP gives you a pretty high survival chance. I'm not sure where I misclicked there, could have been just about anything. But mistakes happen. It's more so about dealing with them. More restore. I can stam at any time. And right now I'm at 106 range, so let's use another dose of Bastion. I was going to leave a full one for Zuck, but if I got 1 extra dose, that's great. The goal here is to get into 600 HP. And after 600 we can kill the major. DPS isn't too bad. It's about expected for Bofa. 2 sets is pretty normal, 3 not so much. There's 602, 1 more attack will do it. There it is, now we can kill the major. That spawns at 480. One more attack, let's move across. And we're just restoring anytime we get to 60. Really topping up our supplies. I can hit Zuck once or twice here. I've got to be careful not to bring him to 480 though. And now we finish up the major. Notice we're just camping prayer the entire time. Okay, let's do Jad. Once we start Jad, we're in a bit of a DPS race. So we're going to swivel our camera. Keep our prayer book open as much as possible. Top up your restore when you can, so you don't have to flick to your inventory. And with Bofa, you can reach him from both sides. When the healers come out, we can send the barrage. But be careful, don't do it from the edges. So I'm going to wait a second here for the attack. Wait for Zach's attack, and then barrage. This side is safe, the other side is not, but if you're not sure and can't remember, just play it safe. I'm getting roughly to safe spot. I can be a little bit behind, but I can't be a little bit ahead. Yeah, I just misflaked because I'm terrible, so I'm just going to triple brew. Use a dose of restore, and I can even brew more. I don't make mistakes often, but when I do, I brew like fuck. That's what your supplies are for. Don't worry about the damage taken. And I was pretty high HP, so the chances of dying either very, very, very slim or 0. And now we gotta push for healers. For healers, we're not gonna pray Redemption. Redemption is bad strat. You can do it if you have 0 brew, but if you have brew, we're just gonna brew. Our range level is quite high. If we can proc it this side, that'd be great, but I gotta hit some big numbers. I can use another dose of stamina. Bastion don't need it right now. I would like to be 115. Let's use a dose of brew. Dose of restore. Dose of Bastion. So we're just maximizing our HP before we start healers. Plenty of time before the set. You can get a friend to do set timers. You can do it yourself. Okay. And now we're at 262 HP, so I can hit this with a Bofa. I've got to be a bit more careful and do it from the corners. Just play it a bit safe. When this about touches the corner, I can attack. I can use Bofa to tag here, or preferably Blowpipe. Once healers starts, you got to be very careful to follow the shield. I can use Bofa for the healers, and it's not bad. Or I can use Pipe. I recommend Pipe. We can duck into the corner for one attack, and then come out with the shield, and try and Blowpipe walk with the shield. If you can get your Blowpipe specs off, that's great, but don't feel pressured to. We're just going to pipe and walk, pipe and walk, pipe and walk. When we get to the corners, it's a good time to pipe spec. So here. There we go. And I can brew. And I can brew. And don't get too greedy. If you think you're out of the attack range, you probably are. Make sure to stay with the shield. Keep brewing, keep brewing. Back on Zuck here. Restore. Brew. And I can even Bofa this healer from here. Got a Bastion as well. I'm going to tag the Ranger here. Oh, I'll nearly tag the Major. I'm just going to tag the Ranger and only the Ranger. Let the Major hit the shield a little bit. I'm going to get some damage on the Ranger. Now we can tag the Major. Get the Blowpipe out. And I'm just going to tank this. I got 2 brews. I already got a couple of hits off on it. I'm fully potted. Let's brew. And he dies. More brew. Even more brew. If we have the supplies, we're going to use them. And now we don't have to worry. Stay with the shield. Use that last dose of Bastion. And click Zuck. Gotta stay with the shield, don't greed hits. And the next set's not going to spawn by the time we have to kill Zuck. Just very, very unlikely. Even if it did, I can just kill the Ranger. And gotta tag them both though, because the shield is getting low now. DPS is not great, but we only need a few big hits to take it down. And we want to follow the leading edge of the shield. $181 to go. Come on, Bofa. If I get another set, it might actually be quite bad. But we got pipe spec coming up. We don't really have to kill the Major at all. We're just going to pray Mage the entire time. Even if another one spawns, it's okay. 120 HP now. more restore. If it did spawn, gotta remember the shield's about to die, so we'd instantly tag the major. And you can just left-click the top of the pile for new majors. But I think we'll be fine. There we go. Yeah, it's quite unlikely new sets go. New sets pop up anyway. Not horrible. About 100 minutes for a cape. I feel a bit tired this morning, so some mistakes, but mistakes are good. You can see how I react to them. And that will conclude the FCF. So hopefully across these 10 episodes, you've got plenty of information to work through, lots of practical ideas and solves and melee traps and things like that. And moving on, we'll be having a look at TOB, hopefully. So if you're wondering how to get into TOB or how to find teams, that's something I'm going to try and be doing over the next few weeks. And also some general PVM improvement stuff. If you want to either get better at the game, go for Fang Kit, Blood Torva, stuff like that. Going through a process that makes you a better player, that includes getting Infernal Cape, really pays off. So we'll be having a look at that as well. But if you've been watching the entire thing through and all of the other series and, well, all the other episodes in this series, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.